Welcome to Karaoke Wine with Jules and Tessa.
Welcome
to
Karaoke Wine.
Karaoke Wine. Before we get started,
Briosa. Thank you.
Thank you. Ooh, ASMR?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's fine.
New little fetish.
Yeah.
That we can add to Karaoke Wine. Cheers.
Oh, so good. So, for today,
Yes.
we have a topic, and it's really great because it piggybacks on our last episode, but
Yes.
I would actually really like you to introduce this topic for a few reasons.
Okay, so Tessa sent me this Instagram video of this lady explaining that she was on a podcast, and one of the questions that she was asked was, how do you know when it's time to walk away? And basically, short answer was, don't look on to the outside, but you need to look on to the inside. Like, what is your personal threshold? And I think that at our age, we have been in multiple relationships, whether it's friends, family, or romantic relationships, where you do get to a point where, like, I just can't do this anymore. It's not working for me. It's not working for you either, maybe. You know, you never know. But for me personally, I have a lot of experience in this category because I was in a 13-year relationship, and that threshold was, I mean, it was a lot.
It was a lot.
Because 13 years, I mean, that's not to say that it was a lot for the whole 13 years, but I did eventually get to that point where I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Right. I think, too, one of the things that we want to talk about is this can incorporate any type of relationship, as Jules had mentioned, but also because we talked about categories last week.
Yes.
It can also incorporate those situationships or just people that are just not good for you. Like, how much are you willing to go through until you say enough is enough? And when Jules and I were talking about this, obviously we immediately went to the people that we had committed to, right? Like, where it was an actual relationship and what our thresholds were there. But that's not the only type of romantic relationship, as we discussed last week. There's so many other things that go into, there's so many other types of relationships where you reach your threshold. So let's go ahead and dive into the committed relationships, because I feel like you have a lot to say on that. And 13 years, that's a whole lifetime, ladies and gentlemen. And I would like to be the reminder that this is when Jules was very, very young, a kid herself, raising.
I was not a kid. I was 20.
Okay. She was raising two bonus kids. She was madly in love with a person that she wanted to spend the rest of her life with. So a whole life was lived in this 13-year time span. So let's go ahead and walk through what that looked like for you.
So I would say that it was an amazing relationship. I want to say, I can't even pinpoint it. All I know is that it was really bad, like the last 3 years. It was like, it's like a slow burn, and then you realize that you're in it. And when we were talking about categories the last episode, it kind of, hit a chord. Struck a chord. I was going to say strong, but I was like, that's not the right word.
I got you.
It hit a chord when we were doing the Good Enough Girl, because I felt like that 13-year relationship, I definitely fell into that category. I don't think that he would ever categorize me as that.
Agreed.
But the Good Enough Girl, I was definitely doing all the things without, and I did have commitment, right? Like we were living together from like month 4 and I was taking care of the kids. I was basically like the stepmom and the wife, but I had no ring on my finger. I had no commitment in terms of signed paperwork. Okay.
There was no contract.
There was no contract.
No contract.
The government knew that we were in a civil union.
Yes.
But that was pretty much it. But when I came to the realization that it was...
You forgot to send the message to him, you need to upgrade your package in order for this to be happening. You have exceeded girlfriend duties.
Yeah, it was
like...
I mean, no, I was engaged, but...
Yes, right. Right.
To be fair, I don't think he proposed to me with any expectation on actually getting married to me. Sorry. Said what I said.
She said what she said.
And he knows this because I've talked to him about this.
He does. And for sake of her potentially editing this out, her ring, ladies and gentlemen. My God.
No, he did good on the ring, guys.
He didn't just do good. He did good. Beyond. Well, if Jules wants to share more about what the ring was, but let me just say, it was like, you see this thing, like you couldn't, there's no one would say no.
Honestly, like he did good on the proposal. I mean, it was an epic engagement. And when he asked me years after we broke up, he was like, you know, why did you say yes if you knew that you didn't want to marry me? And I was like, I didn't know that I didn't want to marry you at the time. And that's everything that I wanted, right? When the man that you've been trying to get down on one knee, finally after 11 years, gets down on one knee, you're not going to be like, I don't know. We've been fighting a lot. Like, I was like, hell yeah. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
I think, so let's unpack this a little bit because we've already noted she lived this whole life with this man. What was going through your head in those last 3 years? You just made, a quip about, I know we've been fighting a lot, but we're going to figure it out. Like once the proposal happened, because obviously she did end up walking away from this man, as we all know. But 2 years of an engagement after, 13 years of being together, 11 years of wanting this, like, it sounds like you really took your time for 2 years to really give it that one more try. Or like, what was your thought process? How was your feelings like during that time?
It's a good question. The night that we got engaged, we were in the Hamptons and a stranger at the party that we were at was like, oh my God, when are you going to get married? And he said a joke. It wasn't funny. He said, oh, this just bought me 10 more years.
If you guys know, we've discussed this on previous episodes. 1, we're hilarious, and we know we are. 2, we are not going to give you a giggle if we like you, if we don't like you. We give you a giggle if you're funny.
Yeah.
So if we're not laughing, it's not funny.
No, it wasn't.
Proceed.
It wasn't funny.
It's rude.
Yeah, that's when the night took a turn. Yeah. But I told him that really hurt my feelings and there was some truth to it, right? If I did not get engaged, I would have never, not say never, because I don't know the what ifs, but most likely I would have stayed in the relationship a lot longer than I did, getting engaged and thinking about the rest of my life, because I feel like marriage is a huge commitment and it's something that I don't take lightly and I don't ever want to get divorced. If I did not get engaged, I would have never thought about that. I would have kept on like fighting for the engagement. Yeah. No, fighting for the relationship.
Okay, yeah, right.
That would end up eventually getting into the engagement. But the engagement itself made me go inward a lot sooner and look inside, look in the mirror and actually look at our relationship from like a bird's eye view and realize that this isn't what I want for the rest of my life. I have been fighting for this relationship for a long time, and it's actually getting worse. It's not getting any better. I had a really good conversation with my bonus daughter,
Who we love.
who we love and adore.
Obsessed.
And she's wise beyond her years.
100%.
And I had dinner with her one night, and I basically just broke down crying because I just didn't know what to do, and I was just very sad. And sad is not even the word. And we talked about last episode also that going to an apartment with someone already being there
It's the loneliest lonely.
is the loneliest lonely, and I was there. I was just not okay. I had a conversation with her, and I just spilled my guts of like how lonely I was, how depressed I was. And she looked at me and she said, whatever you decide, I respect you and I adore you, and I just want you to be happy. And if that's not being with my dad, like that's what you need to do. And
Okay.
hold on.
I'm sorry. Finish your thought. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
And so having that conversation, it wasn't like I got an okay from her, but I also wanted to be an example for her of it's okay to make a change. It's okay to do these things for yourself. And I needed a change, and I was losing myself at 32. I was about to be 33 years old. My best friend,
Who we love.
who we love and adore, after I left and I started like showing signs of being happy again and smiling again, he looked at me, he was like, I'm glad I have my best friend back. That was a moment because I was like, I didn't know I was gone until I came back, and I was like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize how sad and depressed I was until like you get out of that hole. So that was an awakening. The threshold, I don't know if there was like a click.
yeah.
There wasn't a click. It was just the point of no return. It was, if I stay, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not suicidal. I was never, it's a saying.
Metaphor. Like
Yeah.
if this is going to be the rest of my life, I'm not going to be living.
Yeah, it was, there was no Jules in me. There was no soul.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, and also love that he called you and said that, because I recently posted a video montage of myself. Weird. And Jules had mentioned to me after she watched it, she's like, I'm so happy that you're seeing yourself again the way that we all see you. And there's something so profound when people that you love and you trust with everything that you are tell you that they can see that you are now believing in yourself again, that you're now yourself again. And it's a relief heartbreak, if that makes any sense. Like, because it's heartbreaking to think that you weren't that person. It's heartbreaking to think that they ever saw you have to struggle with gaining the perspective of yourself again. So I think it's really important that when you have those true ride or dies who are pulling you aside and being like, you're not who you are, it's really easy to get defensive when you're in that type of place. But when you pull out of it and you're like, you were so right. Like, thank you so much for that. And truthfully, mine was, I mean, my relationship was 8 months. It was absolutely, completely debilitating to who I was as a human. And this video I posted a month ago, and the relationship ended last year in February. So like it took me a whole ass year and some change for me to get back where I was. So like I couldn't even imagine what that would be like. Literally, you lived an entire life. Like some people like look at that 13 years and that's literally the rom-com story, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were at the time like the longest standing relationship in Miami. Like everyone was like, this is insane that two Miami people like that go out and that party and like
Miami
have kids and they're doing like PTAs and bat mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs and all the things could stay in this 13-year relationship. Yeah. And to be fair, we were very good at hiding it from like our public.
As you should, though.
But our inner circle knew like the trials and tribulations that we were having. Now, I will say this. Everyone and their mom had a fucking opinion. And I was so young that I listened to everyone.
Don't do that.
And now at this age, like, you can give me your opinion. I may or may not listen or take it because what's inside me means more. I know myself better than anybody else does. So I have learned that. I was very young and I was going into my 30s. And anyone, I mean, if you're in your young 20s right now, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah,
if you're already in your 30s and 40s, you already know this. When you're in your 20s, you're trying everything. You're just learning, like, what do you like? What pisses you off? You want to like everybody. You want everyone to like you.
I had a great time in my 20s.
I had a great time too, but
you were just with one, you were in a life.
Yeah, but your 20s are to like, you know,
figure it out.
And your 30s are you settle into your own truth. And then your 40s, I'm assuming because I'm approaching, and it's like, woo, it's cemented, stamped of approval. I know who I am. I like who I am. This is me. Can't change me.
Seriously.
I think that's what it's going to be like. I don't know.
It is.
I mean, I'm already there.
I agree with that. I think too, part of
sweating. This is like a
that's why I had to like, you know, give a quick like we keep going. Okay.
No, but this is my life and I lived it.
I love it. And I think it's good to remember too, and this is something that we talk about what topics we want to do, and then we obviously start having like one-off conversations. But on my way driving down to shoot this podcast today, I was thinking, you know, when you're in a really, 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 really bad moment, that is when you should be feeling every single thing and appreciate how low and the energy that goes into it, especially when you're younger. And I'm talking about romantic relationships. Like when you're so heartbroken, you know, I feel like sometimes society tells us like, brush it off. It wasn't that serious. If you feel like it was, feel all of that. And it's not because we want you to feel bad. It's because the more that you allow yourself to recognize that the feelings were real on your part and you are very sad and you're depressed and you think that they were the one, the more that you allow yourself to heal and just move through it, the less you're going to tolerate in the next relationship.
Yeah.
If you cut yourself off from allowing, like if you like break up with somebody that you thought you told all your friends you were going to marry and then you guys break up and you're just like, whatever, you're probably going to deal with a lot of the emotions by yourself and isolate. I may or may not be talking from personal experience right now. I'm just saying, feel those fucking emotions, because the minute that you start feeling something about to happen again, you're going to recognize it and you're going to be able to pull in your tolerance and walk away faster.
Well, I also think that's why you identify triggers.
Yeah.
Triggers from the past relationships that I've had, it takes effort to not
react.
Yeah.
Does.
It's hard, guys. But you have to realize what a trigger is, because the trigger has to do with you.
Yeah.
It does not have to do with the person sitting across from you. It's here.
Yeah.
And if you don't know yourself and you don't deal with that shit, you're going to be a repeat offender, and then you're going to be the toxic one. And nobody wants to be that person. And if you do want to be that person, you're just an asshole. But
it's so true. And I think another thing, to your point, exactly what you're talking about is, I mentioned on a previous podcast that I would get really emotional to like seal the deal. obviously I've done a lot of self-reflecting, and I said that in a humorous capacity. Really what was happening when I would be a little bit overserved and having all these big emotions to men that I barely knew, it's because I wasn't talking. It wasn't for them. It wasn't because of them. It was because of all the other stuff that I had suppressed from all these romantic relationships. Because unfortunately, and I'm not playing a victim here because I'm fully accountable for the type of men that I was choosing, which just weren't good for me. Like, I'm not going to call them names or anything. They just weren't compatible or good for me. Is I have not been treated well by any man that I've ever dated. I can't think of even a moment where I felt safe or protected, or that I was like, wow, I could really rely on this person. I think I tricked myself into saying these people are good for me, saying these people are safe for me. But then I try to become a product of what I thought they wanted me to be. No one's really actually dated me and seen who I am and had a chance to be like, oh, this is the girl, because it always came back to, oh, this is the mold that I need to fit into, which is so odd because that's so not like me. And it's only happened in romantic relationships. So,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of those emotions that came up and crying and saying things, like it happened a couple of times in the last 5 years, I would say. And they would be like, wow, that like you were really like emotional. And it was like really bad. And I was like, oh yeah, whatever, not thinking anything of it. And then I had to, you know, kind of check myself. And it was like, it wasn't about them. It was about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a diary. I keep it on my computer.
I love it.
It's not like I don't write stuff anymore.
I freehand write journals. So
I do in terms of like,
yes,
little thoughts and stuff. But this was a diary when I was in my past relationship, and it was very dark. And I didn't read it for, I want to say like a good 4 years after I left. And when I reread it, I was reading, it was so crazy to me that I was reading something and I knew I wrote it.
Didn't recognize
but
her.
I did not recognize her.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, she is dark. And then second, I was like, damn, this is good shit. And only good shit for me comes when I'm depressed. Same as like Adele and Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Samesies.
When I'm happy and I'm trying to like journal, it's like fucking fluff. It's like stupid. I'm like, ugh, this is so annoying.
You know, everyone.
It's not creative.
No.
It's not anything. I'm like, this is horrible.
You know, every one of my journals starts because of a boy. Consistent entries.
Yeah.
And there was one journal that I started and I was like, I'm going to start this not because of a boy. The next sentence down, you'll never believe. I was like, no one's going to read this and no one believes you.
Yeah. And I honestly, I don't think anybody will read this because it's so dark. And maybe one day I'll release a book and some of the excerpts will be in there. But
Ooh,
it was,
that would be good, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good to reflect and realize, wow, I did come a long way. That is not me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know who this is. I know I wrote it because I wrote it.
I think it's not about,
But I had to get my frustrations out. I had to get the sadness out. I was drinking every day.
mm-hmm.
I think you know when it's like bad is when you come home from work, you have a bottle of wine. I'm sitting on the outside patio, smoking a pack of cigarettes, drinking my wine, getting wasted because I did not want to go to bed. That's pretty bad. And that's where I was at the last 6 months of my relationship.
Yeah.
And I gained a lot of fucking weight. A lot of weight. Like a lot of weight, guys.
People just don't believe her when she says that because she is naturally who she is and has pretty much looked the same. These photos are archived in the depths of.
I posted some on Instagram.
I posted them. Let me get through my
Okay,
funny
sorry.
moment.
Okay, sorry.
They're in the dungeon. Oh, we haven't used the dungeon in such a long time.
You didn't know.
I do want to actually challenge something that you said. You said you don't even know who that girl is. And I think it's easy. I think it's easy for us to look back on past versions of ourselves and say, who the fuck was that? That is so not me, which is accurate. However, it's a version of ourselves that happened, and we should stop acting like we don't know her and thanking her and knowing I never want her to be that again. I want to.
Thank you for reminding me.
Thank you.
So when I was reading it, I was not recognizing her because I've changed so much. I knew that it was me, 100%. It also made me realize that it is a part of me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
because look at where you're at now. Like that girl got you here.
100%.
100%.
I was in a thing a long time ago, and it was like in the first 2 months, I saw some toxicity creep in, and I looked at him and said, I'd rather be lonely, like lonely single, going to an empty apartment. This is when I didn't have Charlie at the time. Than be in this shit. Number 2, I have to protect that girl that left my ex at all cost. I worked way too hard for her to go back. I will never go back, ever. And that is my threshold to this day.
Yeah.
I am like in therapy, they're saying, you have to protect the inner child. My inner child, I love her to pieces. I'm not really protecting that little girl. I am protecting the woman, the 33-year-old that left everything, her family, her friends, her job, everything behind, because there's so much at cost. And I won't do it.
No. And
Yes.
Give me a hug.
Thank you.
I love you.
I don't care if you're like Brad Pitt.
No.
If you are showing any signs, I always look at myself as the Titanic.
Yes.
And the toxic man is that fucking iceberg. And I'm like, you are not taking me down.
And all you see is, if you only see a little bit, there's a lot more underneath.
Yes.
The fuck out of there.
And I'm like, you are not taking this ship down.
Full steam ahead in the opposite direction.
100%.
Bye.
Bye.
Taking the necklace with me, by the way.
Yeah. Bye. And good luck.
Yeah.
Good riddance.
And I think that's what it takes, again, going through these experiences of feeling where your tolerance is at. I think for me, as I've mentioned before, like, I obviously just got out of a relationship, thank God, not just, like almost 2 years next February. I'm like thinking ahead. I'm already like, put it behind me. But I've never been the one to leave people I have committed to. So when I think about like actual people that I was committed to, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 3, probably. I didn't walk away first. They always did because I was brought up not happening anymore. If I'm committed to you and then all of a sudden you start showing the tip of the iceberg, I'm out of there. I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
But I was, my parents love them to death and they are amazing humans, but they had this ability to fight so catastrophically and then love so intensely afterwards. So the way that I grew up is it's supposed to be that fight. You know what I mean?
Pendulum.
Yes. I don't want that anymore. They're obviously not like that now, but it's one of those things that I learned about. So when somebody would pull away from me, like I would either become absent, I would become avoidant, or I would become suffocating. Like I would just try every which way to try to get them to engage with me again. But Actually, the lobbyist I walked away from. I was the one that ended that.
Yeah.
So I did walk. I was like, I'm not going to be treated like this.
I've walked away from everyone.
Well, you have.
Because once you walk away okay, let me back up.
Yeah.
When I left my ex-fiance, it was the hardest thing to this day that I've ever had to do. Once you do that, walking away from every relationship afterwards
Is
a piece of fucking cake.
Well,
And you know you're not going to die. You're only going to be stronger for it. And to be fair, remember when I said on the last episode that I talked to this guy and he was like, I live with my girlfriend. It's like a roommate situation.
Little bitch, yeah.
It wasn't that. And I feel like my ex and I did the same thing. Like we knew we weren't happy.
Yeah.
And we were trying to like fix it and talk it out and whatever, but it just wasn't working. I wasn't leaving thinking that he was gonna, yes, he was hurt, but I did us both a favor.
Yeah.
And now he's, with a gorgeous, smart, beautiful young lady. We love and adore her. Like we're both very happy and we're in healthy places in our lives. And ours was just not sustainable.
So I think too, there is a differentiator because because when I think about you, I think from what I know about you, and this is not pre-fiance. I'm thinking all post-fiance.
Yeah.
I would consider actual relationships that you've been in only 2. With that. Okay, right. Okay. Those situationships that we had talked about earlier, because this is about them too. The 2-week stint or whatever it might be, I've always walked away from those.
Well, I had a relationship in LA. I walked away from that one.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about LA.
But you forgot that I lived there.
Because she wasn't with me, so it didn't happen.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
But I walked away from that one too.
Yeah.
And then, now.
Well, I walked away. Oh my God, that guy that I tell you I always forget that I like actually dated. I walked away from him.
Yeah.
But he was a 1.5-year relationship.
But oh my God. You would forget about that. No, but it's okay to walk away because it's not the end of the world and you will get through it.
Yeah.
I promise you, if you are anything like where I was, you need to do it for your mental health, for everything, survival.
I'm can't get my words right now. So we talked about the good enough girl. Who was our equivalent to the good enough girl?
I'm bored.
Okay. So this goes for both of those situations.
A good enough guy too.
Good enough. Yeah.
It's like, babe.
Walk away. This is where I'm at. I've had some pretty intense feelings for people that didn't last. And in my mind, in those moments, it was so rare to be with somebody and feel those things. And it didn't work out. So think about how rare it's going to feel when you're with the right person. It's going to be better. Yeah. So if there's any type of hesitation, if there's any type of second guessing, if there's any well, I guess, but he does this, so it's okay. If there's any yes, but even one of them, get the fuck out of there. I know there was if you have to say and more than 3 times or some bullshit. If you say it once, this is one life. You get one fucking life. If you're in a relationship right now and it is not fucking sending you through the roof every time in a good way, get out.
Yeah.
I can say this extremely passionately because I'm very young, and in a very young age, I experienced a lot of death in my life. I'm not going to get into it right now. I know that today can be somebody's last. So that is why I'm so big on telling people how I feel. It is why I'm so attached to people. And there's never a time that you'll get off the phone with me, if you're one of my people, that I don't say I love you. There's never a time that you leave me where I'm not going to tell you to tell me that you got home safe, or I don't do the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's so unfortunate that people think they have all this time. And I don't want to make this like a damper on the whole thing. It's just, why not live your life to the fullest every day?
Yeah.
Like, go after it. You have those feelings for somebody, go after them. If they reject you, move on.
They did you a favor.
Yeah, don't stay and be their friend. Don't be like, oh, maybe they'll come around. No. What if you die tomorrow and then they find the love of their life the next day? You're not going to matter. So matter to somebody before you leave.
Matter to yourself.
And matter to yourself. That's what I was going for.
Samantha from Sex and the City.
Yeah.
I love you,
but I love me more.
And on that note.
On that note.
So to do all the things.
To do all the things.
To do all the things.
To live to the fullest.
Live to the fullest.
Yeah. Find your tolerance.
Know who you are.
Love yourself.
Love yourself. Respect yourself.
Respect. Yes.
And
Carpe diem, bitches.
You get it.
I'm
literally sweating. Like I can feel like boob sweat just
dripping down. Yeah, I gotcha.
Love you.
Thank you for watching this episode of Karaoke Wine. Please like and subscribe.